Dr. Scott Dombrowskis transmitting from the University of Presidia with an update on the geothermal activity that has wrecked our nation. As we've learned, the Ring of Fire as a whole has erupted in varying degrees of disaster throughout, so we Cascadians alone are not bearing the sole brunt of this reprise of the calamity. That being said, as we are at the epicenter, we have had the worst of it. That time is over now. Cordium reactivity is down to normal ambient levels in all but the most concentrated areas, and so we can expect the cessation of geothermal storms and tectonic disturbances. I advise high caution to any who would dare move from shelter or travel in affected areas, but for the most part, the natural dangers that remain will be a great deal less of an issue compared to the destructive effects from the loss of infrastructure and ongoing wildfires. However, rest assured, it's not going to get any worse.
Well, that's the word from the professor himself. Hitman, the damage this disaster did on us is not to be understated, especially on our Air Force. We're not the only ones operating out of a highway right now, and we're lucky. You're not even a full squadron. That being said, you're the most combat capable right now, and in order to rectify that, we're returning to Prospero. With as big as it is, even while damaged, it'll still serve as the best operating base for the final operations.
We've been able to get in contact with surviving scouts in order to scope out Prospero, and as far as we can tell, it is now abandoned ever since this calamity took hold. With residual effects subsiding, now is the time to pick up where we left off. Hitman team, move into the airspace above Prospero and maintain air superiority as we move manpower and equipment in. Initial recon denotes that there is nothing in the way of any Federation ground forces in the surrounding areas or on site, so the biggest threat will come from the air. Equip your planes appropriately, wheels up in the hour.
We finally moved into Prospero, and the thermal activity within hotspots in Cascadia is subsiding. By not letting up the pressure, and by taking our land back even during Cascadia's darkest hours, we have now taken back the initiative, the offensive, and soon enough, our country. Federation forces throughout the country are retreating off coast, congregating in Presidia. This means that they'll have their final stand on this continent in our capital city. Hitman team, stand by. The time is nearly upon us. Presidia is on the horizon, and the Federation is cornered like a rat in Cascadia. This is their final beast, and they are desperately trying to keep it fed.
The Independence Force is preparing for one last naval engagement before the siege of Presidia begins. For months, ever since the lockdown on aerial cargo and commerce, the Federation military in the region has used Presidian ports to assist its supply train. This only increased when Prospero was lost and the geothermal fractures were reignited. Our fleet, along with eminent domain, has tried its best to plug all the holes in our own blockade. However, the Federation has brute forced their way into having a line. The naval convoy is the Federation's only lifeline left. Once it is severed, we can choke out the considerable defenses of Presidia. However, there is also another objective to this. In Presidia's main naval harbor is the Federation's first naval battle group. Its concentration within the harbor currently represents the strongest component of Presidia's defenses. Ever since the war started, they have not moved from their position in order to reinforce the city. We intend to change that. By taking out these vital convoys, we anticipate that this fleet will have to respond in order to keep Presidia from being trapped. Independence Force naval elements not already predisposed are being rerouted to just outside of Presidian waters to throw themselves upon the naval blockade. Its destruction, the immediate replacement with our own blockade, and then the removal of the Federation's own naval force is paramount in winning this war. Support our naval forces in sinking the Federation Navy. Victory here means we save a lot of lives when the final push comes.
Interference is messing with our ASMs at our usual engagement distances.
The noose is beginning to tighten, and the Federation will need some time, if they are at all able to rally forces in order to break our blockade. It is in this time that we will reclaim Presidia. With our reinforcements having arrived, and with you at the helm, Hitman, victory is assured.
Hitman, Galaxy. Glad to see you're still kicking. This last month abroad has been really interesting. Long story short, a good part of the world is knowing where the wind is blowing. And I've got myself an army no one has ever seen before. Mercenaries, freedom fighters, maybe a secret proxy squadron or two from anti-Federation powers. But hey, we're all in it together now. Refit and reload. We'll get back to it soon enough.
We're gonna let the blockade stew for as long as we can as invasion preparations are set. But we've gotta move fast on the capital, or they'll be too entrenched. Hitman team, stand by. May the Dust Mother see us through.